All right, live time. What's going on, guys? Kevin Yates here, and broadcasting from not so sunny Lathrop, California today. It's like this gloomy ass day, but that's not stopping me from being here. So today, just going to share a little bit on this topic, and it's one simple but powerful way to achieve anything that you want. So, if you're tuning in here, this isn't going to be another one of those, motivational pieces where I try to, pump you up full of motivation and get you all fired up and leave you with like nothing that you can actually apply in your life. There's nothing worse, I think, than that. When, you read a book or, you read inspirational quotes all the time. I mean, we see them all the time on Facebook, right? And we're like getting all pumped up. Yeah, they feel great. And we get fired up to do something, and then like within a few minutes, it's like, okay, well, what the hell do I do? Like, how do I use this? And, we're left with nothing. And that's, I said this in a video I did last time, but, motivation, when we're just relying on motivation to push us to achieve the things we want in life, it's a tough way to go. And it's very difficult to achieve goals that you want, because you're depending on things outside of yourself, or you're depending on like people, or whatever, books and things like that. That just the motivation fades. So what happens then is that we have to end up like repeatedly trying to find motivation. And I've run into people all the time. Like when I was training clients, it was a common thing, where when we were talking, like, what's the biggest reason why, you're not achieving the goals that you want? And, all the time it came down to, I'm feeling unmotivated. I need more motivation. Or, people feeling like they're just, I'm being lazy and I don't know why. And I used to be guilty of this, where I'd go through the whole, goal setting process, and okay, let's try and figure out, your reason why. Maybe, you just need to connect with that more, or, we just need to try a little bit harder, and setting bigger goals that are more meaningful and things like that. And, and it never really worked. And so it's like, one of three things tends to happen when we go this route. And, one thing is that we never achieve the goal in the first place. So, it could be, and you can apply this to any area of your life, but, it could have been somebody who comes in and saying, I really want to lose 30 pounds. And, but they, repeatedly fail one diet attempt after another, one attempt at working out and hopping from program to program. And they never achieve the result. And so what happens is they start to settle. They lower the goal, right? And, 30 pounds becomes, well, I'll just lose 10 and I'll be okay if I lose 10. And then, they never achieve the goal, right? And they don't achieve it because, they're not motivated. It's not what they really want. So we never achieve the goal is one thing. The second thing is that we achieve the goal, but we can't maintain it, right? So this is like, the person who goes on to achieve a goal and then, right away they backslide. Someone loses the 30 pounds, but then they can't keep it off. They gain it back and they go up and down, yo-yoing, right? And then the third thing is that we achieve the goal, we can maintain it, but it doesn't give us the result that we had hoped for. So we're not any happier. We don't feel any more fulfilled. It doesn't really change anything. And so we're left trying to figure out like what's next. I need to do this, or I need to set a bigger goal, or I need to figure out, how to push myself harder, or whatever it is, right? And so we resort to these like motivational kind of tactics and strategies, and they really don't work. So then, if that's what's going on, then, what do we do about it? That's the big problem. And, this really came about from, I was looking at my own struggles and things I was going through. And I had just kind of been reminded myself of, years ago, when I was worn out. I was wiped out all the time. I was commuting long distances to work. And I was so inconsistent, like with my own goals I had, even just for like my body. I was so inconsistent with my workouts, and, I was all over the place with it, missing them a lot, not doing the things that I was preaching all the time to other people. I was really inconsistent with my nutrition, and, as a result, I never achieved my goals. Now, I kept trying to push myself harder. I kept, and I was really, really like mean to myself. Basically, I would say things to myself that, I wouldn't dare say to like my friends. I wouldn't dare say to my family, but I'd be cursing myself out, looking in the mirror, calling myself a fat piece of shit. I'm unmotivated. I'm lazy. What the hell's wrong with you? Things like that. I mean, that was going on all the time. And so I would, read books. I would watch documentaries and try and get all the motivation I could. I would try to set these bigger goals for myself and everything. And not surprisingly, it never really worked. I couldn't stay motivated. I wasn't achieving the goals that I was setting. And I really didn't understand why. I just kept thinking something must be wrong with me. Like, why do things work for everybody else but me, right? It was that kind of thing. And it took me a while to realize. So I was going over this recently, and I was thinking like, okay, within the last 4 years, over the last 4 years, I've very rarely missed a workout. So all of a sudden I went from being completely inconsistent, and all of a sudden I'm like never really missing a workout for 4 years straight. What happened? Like, what was the biggest thing that led to that? Now, I also was noticing though that really recently, I was having a lot of struggles with nutrition. I was having a lot of problems there, and it was really like I was getting pissed off about it, going, okay, I'm really good with these workouts, but I can't seem to stick with my nutrition. What's going on? And so I ended up doing a coaching session with Dax Moy over in the UK. And so, Dax was going through some things with me, and what I started out thinking was kind of a nutritional thing, or there was, a lack of kind of motivation going on in there, and I couldn't figure out, why I kept sabotaging things that way. And I started to realize that a lot of the problems I had with nutrition weren't nutrition issues at all, right? And so as we got deeper into this, I started to realize, oh my God, there's some real deep they were almost like hidden blocks. Like, I knew something was there, but the thing I was looking at wasn't the thing that was the problem. So in getting really clear and understanding, what the core issue was and what I had to deal with, I really a light bulb went off for me. And I realized like the most important thing with achieving, goals that we have in really any area of life, it could be whatever that we want. It's not about like trying to motivate ourselves and push ourselves and calling ourselves lazy and resorting to these kinds of things. It has to do really with something that I've come to learn, and what I call it is modeling the role versus modeling the result. And here's how it plays out. Like, the easiest way I could describe it is like in my own case, okay? It was, and you can like, as I'm going through my story, I just share this, not to just talk about my story, but in a way that will hopefully shed maybe a little bit of light for you, kind of clear things up, or maybe give you some insights into your own kind of, story and things that are going on to help you gain some insights and clarity so that you can understand what's going on in your particular situation. So for me, I'm going through, everything, that had to do with like my nutrition and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, what is this kind of, issue? It's not really a nutrition issue now. I'm realizing that there's other things going on. So what happened was I had a lot of like anxiety going on. Okay. And over the years, I had like really overcome anxiety. I had what I'm learning was called trait anxiety for all these years, where it was like almost a natural way for me to be, was like anxious. That like had become my normal. It was ridiculous because I was always worrying about things. I was obsessing about things. And over the years, though, I had really all but eliminated that. But I didn't realize that I still had like these bouts of what I'm learning are state anxiety, which basically is I no longer like constantly fear things and worry and obsess about things, but there are times where I get stuck in these patterns. And so this anxiety was the actual kind of thing that was sabotaging my nutrition, which was the big block that was in the way of me achieving just, this physique goal that I have. And so again, going deeper into this, I'm going, okay, so it's really, where's the anxiety coming from? That was the big thing. So we got into, me and Dax are talking about like, where's this anxiety coming from? And at first I couldn't really identify it. And then the more that we got talking, the more I realized that, like, oh my God, this was the result of me doing two things to myself. One, placing a ton of pressure on myself. Especially like now, like there's a lot of changes that I'm going through. I had changes, involving like my, business last year, and, some other things going on. Like I can't reveal all of it right now, but there's some really cool stuff happening, really exciting stuff. But again, it's a lot of change. And, it's like with change comes a lot of responsibility. And so I put all this pressure on myself. And the pressure I was putting on myself had to do with the second thing, which was perfectionism. And, I say now, that I'm a recovering perfectionist, because I placed, in every area that I had goals. So whether it was like my physique, whether it was like financial goals, whether it was career goals, even goals that I had, as a dad, as a husband, as a provider, it's like all these different areas. And the goals that I have, it's kind of like this vision that I had in each of these areas. And because, I'm not matching that vision, if I'm not exactly where I see that vision to be, I really, really would come down on myself. And, it was just never good enough. Like I'm not there. So I put all this pressure on myself, and that was what was creating all the anxiety within me. And then the anxiety it has this big far-reaching effect to where I don't sleep well at night when I'm feeling like that. I'm waking up at, between 1 and 3 in the morning, obsessing and worrying about things that might happen, things that haven't happened. What if this? What if that? Oh my God, I should do this. I need to do that. I don't sleep well. And then that leads to me waking up feeling like crap the next day. And my energy's low, my mood's low, I'm frustrated, and then, I blow off nutrition, right? I start craving things, and I, have these uncontrollable cravings going on. And so that was kind of the deeper issue. Now, what does this all have to do with a simple, powerful way to achieve what you want in your life? I'm kind of going, on and on, but it really kind of, brings us all back to what I was talking about when that light bulb went off about modeling the role versus modeling the result. And again, all the pressure and everything, a lot of times what happens, and maybe this is true for you, maybe something is similar in there. If it is, let me know. Give me a like or something, or comment below and let me know. But basically what was going on is I kept looking at the end result, right? The outcome. And when we look at the outcome, it's almost like we can always, like, we're raising that bar higher and higher. It's like the closer we get to it, the higher we set that bar. And we're always looking kind of from this perspective about how far away we are from what we want. It's like, no matter where we're at, it always seems like, man, that thing that I want, that goal I want, or that person I want to be is so far away. And it's because we're looking at modeling the result, right? We're looking at that end result all the time. And what happens is when we keep looking at how far away we are, then it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to create a lot of pressure on ourselves. If you have any issues like I did with perfectionism, you know how that goes. It's like, God damn, I'm never going to be there. Or even if you make progress, it's never good enough, right? You feel like you never measure up, to other people. Other people are doing this and I'm not. What's wrong with me? And I'm lazy and all that kind of stuff, right? That's what happens when we try to model the result. And that was me dead on, because I wasn't where, I felt I should be. And that's one of the most dangerous places to be, when you should yourself to death, right? Or should all over yourself. You keep thinking about all the things that you should be doing, where you should be in your life, what you should have, what you shouldn't do, all that stuff. And it could go further than that, right? I need to do this. I have to do that. I need this. I need to be this way, or I have to be this way. We can do that all day long. That just keeps us focused on, how far away we are from where we want to be. And that just leads to self-sabotage in the end, because we get frustrated, and then, and frustration and anxieties and pressure and all that, it shows up in kind of dysfunctional ways, where we just basically sabotage what we're doing, right? We know we shouldn't eat that damn piece of chocolate, but we do it anyway, and we can't figure out why. Well, a lot of it has to do with that kind of stuff. Now, when we take that out and we stop looking at modeling the result and instead we model the role, really what I've done is now I even just have taken it and stripped it down to, or refined it, you could say, into modeling the process. And all that means is that instead of focusing constantly on that result, instead what I'm doing now is I stop looking over here and I start looking over here a little bit and I go, okay, what if instead of worrying about that result all the time, I instead start to model the process that will lead to the result that I want? What if I model the process that will lead to the result that I want? And it was like this, boom, this mind shift for me, because it really took the pressure off of me. All the perfectionism I felt, upholding myself to this standard that I kept setting it so high I couldn't even meet it. And instead I started looking at the process. So I'll give you an example. Like yesterday, my wife was off work, so we wanted to do something together because she's never, like off during the weekdays. And so, I go through my workout and everything. I had a great workout. And, we went out and we were doing some things and then we wanted to go eat lunch, right? So, we go stop off at Five Guys, right? Because we love freaking Five Guys. And so I go there and, we're eating, right? And I just have like a burger. I, don't put anything, on it other than veggies and stuff like that. But I did that. And so now normally what would happen is, as I go through my day, like I have that food and then I'm starting to after feel the guilt because of all the pressure I put on myself, and I start like berating myself for, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? I blew my diet. And that's when I'm focusing on modeling the result, right? Trying to be this perfect role model for this result that I feel that, I want it, but I feel like I have to be there. And normally I would have done that. But instead what happened was, because I'm now engaged in modeling the process, I look at that and I go, okay, wait a minute now. I did that, but here's what's going on, right? If I'm engaged in the process, I can still end up at the result that I want. So if I look at all the things that happened during the day, well, here's what happened. When I ate the burger, I didn't eat any fries. Normally, I'd have a big old thing of fries with it. I didn't have that. I didn't have any kind of milkshake with it. I didn't have any desserts. So, and the burger was pretty clean, really. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. So I did pretty good there. I, may have had a little too much, food or something like that, but hey, so be it, right? What I did do is I drank a ton of water, right? I stayed on my water because part of my thing with managing anxiety and my overeating kind of problems are to stay hydrated, because when I get dehydrated, I tend to eat more food. So I did really good with my water. I did great with my sleep. I had a great night of sleep. My energy levels were through the roof yesterday. I had a great workout. So if I look at the process it takes to get the result I want, I really was engaged in it. Everything from my water to my sleep to my energy levels, managing that, to managing my anxiety, to what the hell else did I say? I took my magnesium and all that stuff. Like, those are the things that I need to do, and I know I need to do those. Those are the parts of the process I need to get to the end result. So by modeling that process, it changed everything. So this is what I'm saying. And Jill, welcome. I didn't even acknowledge that you're here, but welcome. Thanks for tuning in. But that's what I'm talking about. So if that kind of relates to you in any way or gives you some kind of insights or something, drop a comment, give a like, or share this with somebody. If you know somebody who is like struggling with issues that are related to this and really could benefit from hearing this, then do me a favor and share that with somebody that you know. But that's basically it. So if we take it instead of modeling the result and always focusing on how far away we are and, I'm not there yet, or always feeling like we're never there, we're never good enough, we're not measuring up, comparing ourselves to other people who have the result that we want and putting all that pressure on ourselves, instead of trying to model that result, it just goes back into modeling the process, staying involved in the process. So how do we do it? It's basically getting very clear on one, you have to know where you want to go, right? Because if we don't know where we want to go, then it doesn't matter what we do. We have no way of knowing if we're on track to getting anywhere. And even if we achieve the goal, we wouldn't know if we have it because we haven't defined it. So we have to define what it is that we want. I wrote a book called The Dream Principles, and that was like the first part of achieving anything that you want in your life, was to define the dream. Like, what is it that you're after? You've got to define it, and you got to define it very clear. So that way, now, once we have that defined, then we can kind of create the process for it. So, if this was the outcome, or if this is the outcome, now that I know what it is, what are the steps involved? Like, what are all the things that will lead me to achieving this outcome? And it's not about like perfection. It's just having like a process. So again, if you blow one thing or you do one thing wrong, you don't obsess about the one thing you did wrong, because it's easy to do that. But a lot of times what we fail to do is look over here at all the things that we did right, all the ways that we engaged in the process that will still allow us to have the result we want. Yes, we might get there a little bit slower. Yeah, it might take a little bit longer. This isn't anything about like overnight success and things like that, because I'll tell you why. Most people that engage in like these radical kind of, results producing transformation programs and things like that, they'll show you the great results that they get 30 days after, or 60 days after, but very few of them can maintain the results over, the long term. And, because they're doing things that are very difficult to maintain, either in general or for them, right? They become very stressful. They become things that they don't really enjoy doing, right? So, but, define the dream, right? Define it, what it is that you want. Know the thing, what it is, and know it very clearly. It can't be vague or kind of this or kind of that, or it can't be what a lot of people that I worked with when I was training clients. Man, I did this for 16 plus years, and I can't tell you, I can't even recall the amount of times that when we were going over, I would go over goals with people, like just trying to identify what it is that they want. And it was like all the time, well, I don't want to be fat. Well, I don't like the way my stomach looks. Well, I don't like feeling, like shit all the time. I don't like, it was everything that they didn't like, didn't want, felt like they couldn't have. But almost never did somebody really come out and right away just identify, I want this. All right. So a lot of times we get really good at focusing on all the things that we don't like, don't want, and feel like we can't have. What is it that you do want? Identify the dream, right? Define the dream, get very, very clear on it. And then from there, it's like getting the processes down, right? So just kind of identifying, if we looked at it like a recipe, and over here, the dream or the goal is the recipe, that's what we want, then what are all the ingredients that have to go into that recipe? And so when we can define what those things are, again, it doesn't mean that we have to perfectly follow every single one. But if we could pick maybe one or two of those ingredients that go in there and model the process rather than the result, model that process, right? Just pick a couple things. And as these things become habit, as we continue to reinforce these things through consistency, right? Just consistently applying these things and making them become habit, then we can start focusing on adding maybe another thing. But the more of these that we get good at doing, right, in kind of the ingredients here, the more of the ingredients we can incorporate over time, then the more likely we are to get to the end result that we're looking for. And that is it. One simple way to achieve anything you want. And Dax, thanks for tuning in as well. So if you feel that anybody you know can benefit from this, then do me a favor, share this. Share this with anybody you feel that really, if they're going through struggles like this, dealing with this kind of stuff, putting tons of pressure on themselves, trying to be perfectionist like I was doing, having, issues with staying consistent, feeling like they have to do things they don't want to do to get a result that they're after, then please, share this with them. I think that this will help, shed a little bit of light for them. It did for me. Anyway, that's about it for me today. Again, if you have any questions, comments, leave them below. But that's it, and I hope that you really got something from this. I'm going to be looking to, what's today, Tuesday, so I'm going to be looking to be back here Thursday I'm hoping this picture quality worked out too, you guys, because I know I've been having some issues. I changed a few things around, so hopefully this is coming through a lot more clear, and I don't have the ghost in me today where I'm blurry and a little over here and over there and fuzzy. But I'll be back here Thursday. I'm looking at 10 a.m., so maybe this will be a good time for me. But anyway, I'll give you a heads up on that, and I just want to thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot, you guys. See you then.